Start was taking place at 6:30. It was a fantastic celebration of the sport of triathlon. Over 600 athletes finishing in today's event from 2 different continents. And then we moved to the Elite Women's Asian Championship race, which just ended recently and ended up with a clean sweep by Japan, taking all the medals, taking gold, silver and bronze. And now this is going to be our final event, probably the most exciting one over the whole weekend. The Europe Triathlon Championship and the Elite Men's event. 64 athletes on the start line, many Olympians, many World Cup winners. Many great athletes on the start line today. So it's really unpredictable who is going to win medals today. It's going to be an epic battle for gold, silver and bronze here at the last race of this fantastic championship in Istanbul. Our athletes are getting ready, and shortly we are going to start our introduction protocol.
Değerli dostlar, 64 sporcunun şu anda çıkış noktasında yerleşmeye başladığını görüyoruz. Türkiye Triathlon Federasyonu yetkilileri de şu anda yanımızda. Onlara da hoş geldiniz diyoruz. Aramızda bulundukları için. Ve alanda bulunan akredite kartı olmayan herkesi dışarıya davet ediyoruz. Tekrar ediyorum. Alanda olup akredite kartı olmayan herkesi dışarı davet ediyoruz. Lütfen görevlilerin uyarılarını dikkate alalım. Yarışmayı kenardan seyreden triatlon severler, spor severler için mesafeleri bir kez daha tekrar edelim. Önce 1500 metre yüzecekler. Yani burada 750 metrelik parkuru iki defa tekrar edecekler. Ardından 40 kilometre bisiklete binecekler ve 10 kilometre koşarak yarışmayı tamamlayacaklar. Aşağı yukarı toplamda 2 saate yakın bir süre mücadele edecekler. Ve aralarında 4 de Türk sporcumuz var. 4 milli sporcumuz. Milli sporcularımız Taha Eren Coşkun, Enes Kızılcık, Murat Çağdaş ve Gültü Güner'e de yürekten başarılar diliyoruz. Onların hedefi yarışmada, bu dünya çapındaki sporcuların yer aldığı yarışmada ilk 30 sporcu arasına girmek. Evet, biz de bayraklarımızı gördüğümüz zaman çok mutlu oluyoruz. Harikasınız. Süper.
Ladies and gentlemen, less than 10 minutes to go to the start. Less than 10 minutes.
Start için artık son 10 dakika. 10 dakika sonra müthiş mücadelenin startı verilecek.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the race technical officials of the Europe Triathlon Championships 2025 Istanbul. Leading the technical team today are the technical delegate Mr. Jorge Garcia from Spain, the head referee Ms. Melody Tan from Malaysia, and the medical delegate Mr. Batuhan Ollu, Turkey. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the elite men athletes of the 2025 Europe Triathlon Championships Istanbul. Wearing race number 1 from Hungary, second at the Europe Triathlon Cup Istanbul last year, Kis Gergely. Racing with race number 2 from Norway, third at the Sprint European Championships in Malia earlier this year, Sebastian Wernersen.
To wait for all of the 54 athletes to join them. 53 actually. There is never a number 13 for superstitious reasons. So 54 athletes on the start line today. Max Stapley coming out now. For me, probably the favourite to take the title here, although he is going to have to work hard for it. Jack Willis also informed, both from Great Britain, these athletes. Sebastian Wernersen from Norway as well, in great form, took the under-23 sprint championship just a few weeks ago and finishing third overall in the elite race. So the athlete from Norway very much in form too. Crociani going out there. He is the European sprint champion, crowned just over a few weeks ago, and really for me is in the form of his career at just 22 years of age. He got a podium finish in the World Triathlon Championship Series in Hamburg, finishing third there a few weeks ago. So the young Italian, very much in form. So we're seeing one of the Spanish athletes going down now. The Spaniards have brought a strong team here to Istanbul. We have Antonio Cerrone. He is wearing number 7. He's an athlete, unfortunately, whose form sort of dips and dives, but when he is on form, he's one to look out for. David Castro Fajardo also racing here today, and he won the World Cup in Napier in New Zealand at the beginning of the year. So keep your eyes open for the Spanish team here. One more Spanish athlete racing is Izan Edu Aguila, just 20 years of age. So great to see the young athletes mixing it up with some of the more experienced athletes. So Fajardo from Spain just going out now. So we are down to 53 athletes on the start line. And actually, weather conditions in the water, or water conditions rather, actually looking quite a lot smoother than they were for the women's race yesterday. So our last few athletes now just making their way out onto the pontoon. So another Italian athlete going out. The Italians also really love to take on these championship races in Europe. Ewan Di Nigro, another Italian athlete to look out for. Took a bronze medal in the under-23 sprint championships in Malia, and is the victor of many junior European Cup races as well. So another very young athlete that is on the rise. And it's always interesting to watch over the years the changing of the guards as the new athletes start to come through. So wearing number 5, the Polish athlete Rudzak, one to look out for from Poland. Very strong swimmer, so he will certainly feature early on in this race.
45 from Spain,
So the athletes now calmly waiting as the rest of the athletes make their way out. Always great to get onto the pontoon first because you can choose best position. And these athletes will have been in the water on the run up to this championship race. And they will have worked out where they want to be on the pontoon and what is the quickest line to that first buoy. As I said, there is a slight current here, so positioning in the water to get the fastest line to that first buoy really is crucial. So the last few athletes now just making their way out onto the pontoon. 3 minutes until start time. It's 4:15 local time in Turkey, and I have to say this really is a very beautiful venue indeed. The athletes are at the Kukusia Pier. It's located in the Beykoz area of Istanbul. It's on the Asian side of Istanbul. So tense moments always as the athletes await the starter. We'll have to see the flags, red flags of the officials all flying high to announce that the athletes are all present and correct and where they need to be. We did see a full start in the women's race yesterday. Let's do hope that's not going to be the same today. So lots of fans out here waiting to see their heroes at this Europe Triathlon Championships. And the pontoon is just swaying in the breeze and the chop of this beautifully clear water. Water temperature over 20 degrees, so no wetsuits needed. And they are now in the hands of the starter.
Athletes, you're now in the starter's hands.
And they are off. The 2025 Men's Europe Triathlon Championship here in Istanbul is underway. I have to say, I feel they were held on that pontoon quite a while by the starter, but they have got off to an absolutely flying pace. And it's so important to find your space in the water here and make sure you get to that first buoy in a good place, because that's where people get knocked around, where it gets really crazy as these 65 athletes that are on the start line here battle to get their places in the water. So the athletes now really sort of strung out across the water, but as they come together towards that first buoy, they will form an arrowhead. And at the moment they do look like they are quite spread out, but as I saw in the women's race yesterday and in the Asian Championships, men and women, they all do seem to come together as they get closer to that first buoy. So athletes that we need to be looking out for here in this swim: Angelini from Italy, Deve from Hungary, Gianni from Italy, a super good swimmer, and Max Stapley as well, racing for Great Britain in really, really good form in 2025. He just goes from strength to strength. So keep your eye out for Max Stapley, who I would expect to see somewhere at the pointy end of this swim. The Polish athlete as well, Brzyziak from Poland, bronze medal in the European Sprint Championships. Really, really strong athlete and a good swimmer. So I'm just wondering if that's him on the left-hand side of our leaders at the moment in red and white. We will have to wait for timings We've got timings on the clock now, one coming up for 2 minutes, but to pick out the athletes, we will wait for them to exit the first lap. So this swim is 1,500 metres. There are 2 laps of 750 metres. The athletes swim out. It is around approximately about 300 metres. They will swim out 350 metres. They swim across from buoy to buoy, 90 metres, and before heading left and then back to the pontoon. And it's a tricky exit onto the pontoon. It's quite steep, and we saw a few athletes yesterday finding it pretty tough to get out of the water. So that will be interesting to see now as the athletes march on. And we've got a couple of obvious leaders there out in front. Jack Willis from Great Britain as well has had multiple top fives in European and World Cup racing. He's looking to have a great race here. Still very much up and coming athlete and really does have a huge amount of talent. So the British team here today are strong. They have Max Stapley as their headman, and Jack Willis is here racing. Harry Lelou is racing. We've got a third in the European Triathlon Cup race here in Istanbul last year. And Jimmy Lund rounds up the British team. He's raced 2 World Cups this year and finished 12th in Sadia and 14th in Samarkand. So relatively new to triathlon, just 23 years of age. So it will be interesting to see how he goes. So we are now around the first buoy as we can see the athletes making their way across around about 90 metres until they will turn left and head back. So they've had the current in their favour, pushing them out to that first buoy. It will be tougher swimming back because they'll have to work against the current. So the Kuksu Pier is located on the Bosphorus area connecting the Sea of Marmara to the north and the Black Sea to the sea. So this is a really beautiful location and a lovely part of Istanbul. So we can see on our clock now 14:20 30 seconds, and we saw the quickest female swimmer swum by Tilly yesterday. Tilly Anima from Great Britain had a strong swim 19:56, but for my liking the conditions here are a little bit more favourable to the swimmers today. It's just ever so slightly calmer. And taking a look back at that women's race yesterday, and what a race it was. Jolene Vermeulen really stamping her mark on triathlon now, adding the Olympic distance title to the sprint European title that she took a few weeks ago. And she won it in a time of 1 hour and 55 minutes and 35 seconds. And in the silver medal position, it was Diana Isakova and Tilly Anima from Great Britain. A fantastic result for the young and up-and-coming triathlete from Great Britain. So we can see just about all of our athletes have made their way round that second buoy, and they are now heading back to the pontoon. So this is a 2-lap swim of 750 metres. Just taking a lovely look at the pavilion there on the waterfront. The Asian Championships took part this morning. It was Takumi Huju from Japan who won the men's race yesterday, and the women's race was won by Yuka Takahashi. So second time that she's taken the Asian Championship title. So they were great races to watch. So it seems like our 65 athletes are still tight together, although that camera angle can foreshorten the distances a little bit. But at the moment, we do seem to have one fairly big group of swimmers still tightly bunched together.
So, ladies and gentlemen, very, very interesting to see.
So a little bit of a train now happening and a few athletes getting a good draft on some of the swimmers' feet.
However, it's not a straight line, really.
But no significant breaks at the moment.
Remember the current, the more you go in and inside Bosporus, the stronger the current is going to be. Therefore, some athletes.
So you're just looking there at the Kuksu Pavilion. Really, really stunning building. As the athletes now have around about probably 75 meters or so before they hit the pontoon again. It's going to be interesting to see the exit. It's quite steep. There's quite an incline, which makes it a little bit tougher for some of the athletes. And when they come out of the water, hopefully we will be able to get some name references for you. But as I mentioned, let's keep a lookout for Lehman, the Hungarian, De Vey as well, Angelini from Italy, Stapley from Great Britain, and Cruciani from Italy, getting ever closer now to the pontoon. And this is where the athletes get a good opportunity to have a look around them and see where they are at in this swim. Lovely open water swimming straight there from our leader here, making this look pretty effortless as he makes his way now to the blue carpet. And it looks to me that it is the Polish athlete, Bruziga, it is indeed, that leads out this swim here at the Europe Triathlon Championships. So we hopefully will have our timing graphic up soon. Difficult to pick out the swimmers' names. They are so fast in and out of the water.
David Castro from Spain.
So three Italian athletes here: Cruciani, Azzano, Giovanni. So the Italians bringing a strong field of men, as they did in the women's race yesterday. They didn't, unfortunately, end up with a medal, but I think it might be a bit different here today. Giovanni, for me, is a top pick for the podium. And as we can see there, De Vey is up there, Mangel and Baptista, but these are athletes that are at the back of the field at the moment. Serrazione really struggling with his swim at the moment. The athlete from Spain, he's wearing number 7 here. And he's had some great results in the past, but seems to really be struggling to get his swim together. And so now, as we often see, after that little break from the water, it might be a mere 5-6 seconds, if that, but it certainly does start to break up the field. As we can see, the groups are forming and they are no longer in a tight bunch. As I said, 65 athletes on the start line. Gurgly Kiss as well wears number 1. Definitely an athlete to look out for. 22 years of age, and he got a second place finish last year in the Triathlon Europe Cup in Istanbul, and he took a bronze medal in the World Under-23 Championships in Torremolinos in 2024. So Gurgly Kiss from Hungary, definitely an athlete to look out for. So the athletes now on their second lap of 750 meters. Time reasonably decent for the first lap, this being sea and open water, and with a little chop and certainly a little bit of a tide to have to deal with, a current rather, does make it a slightly slower swimmer than if it's in a very clear lake with no current at all. But the benefit the athletes have here is the water is relatively salty, so that adds some buoyancy.
To the transition area, because that's where you are going to see your athletes live in action, changing from the swim to the bike, clipping their helmets, getting on their bikes. So that is going to be very, very interesting as well. So it's your decision.
So just having a little look at the top 10 out of the water. So we had in first place Bruziak from Poland. Dupis was next, Igor Dupis. And then we had Azzano from Italy, followed by his teammate Crociani. And Retoret was there from France. No surprise, a great swimmer. Lund was there as well, Jimmy. Lund was there from Great Britain. And Harry Lalou also there, good to see. Max Stapley was just behind in 9th position, and Osterholt in 10th. Jack Willis was down in 13th. But I think pretty much the swimmers that we saw coming out were the men that we would expect to see there. Max Studer, racing for Switzerland, was out in 28 seconds, unfortunately a little bit further down than he would like. A brilliant athlete, Max Studer from Switzerland, finished 9th in the Tokyo Games and is an absolutely gun runner. Recently ran a 13:24 for 5,000 meters on the track and has just over 20 minutes for 10K on the road. So Max Studer from Switzerland, great athlete, but he does really struggle on the swim. And just looking at timings, finds himself a little bit way down the field. And the time after the first lap by the Polish athlete was just under 9 minutes. So I would expect to see a pretty quick time here today of around about 19 minutes, I think we'll be looking for. 18:49 was the time that Bruziak from Poland set. So we have a little group of swimmers now, around about 10 of them, working their way through a swim. I got an opportunity to get some updates from Jack Willis from Great Britain, who said this is certainly a course that is going to favour a smaller group of athletes. It does get very technical and narrow in parts around the transition area. So what to look forward to, 40-kilometre bike, and it is broken up into 8 laps of 5 kilometres. Bisiklette ve koşuda çok şey değişebilir. Biliyorsunuz triathlon yarışında They are now round the second buoy on the second leg, heading back to the pontoon, where they will have a reasonably long run up to transition. So we quite often see places gained and lost in that section. It's around about 200 meters, perhaps a little bit under, from the exit of the swim to T1, transition 1. And if you are just joining us here right now, it is around about 4:30 local time in Istanbul. We are at the Kukutsu Pier, located in Beykoz, on the Asian side of Istanbul. And just going past that stunning pavilion there that is visited so much over these summer periods. And the European Championships took place for the very first time in 1985. And so if it hadn't been for 2020, when we had to miss the championship because of COVID, this would be the 40th edition, but it is the 39th edition. And the first European Championships took place in West Germany. Turkey had hosted a championship previously, and that was in 2013 in Alanya, which has such a history of triathlon. They used to hold the European Cup League series there every year, and but that was back in 2013. So great to have the championships back here in Turkey, this time in Istanbul. So that beautiful pavilion that you are looking at now, Kukutsu Pavilion, was used by Ottoman sultans for short stays during country excursions and hunting. And what a stunning building it is. But our athletes won't be noticing that beautiful building at their moment. They are now starting to think about exiting the water It's a tough ramp out of the water here, and they will then take around about 150, 170 meter run down to transition. And such an important part of triathlon. They name it the fourth discipline. There's a good reason for that. You get it right, you can gain paces. You get it wrong, and you can certainly lose places. And it can get pretty frantic there in time. Times when particularly 65 athletes taking part, but they will leave the water separately. The swimmer's been taken out pretty hard by the Polish athlete Bruziak. Came out in the first 750 metres in 8:49. So the clock ticking now, and it's going to be a pretty decent swim considering the conditions here. We've got around about 12 athletes here out in front, perhaps 13, 14 athletes. And what awaits them is an immensely tough bike course with plenty to consider. It's flat and open in places, but then it gradually begins to climb before a fast step descent, and then some technical narrow areas around transition, and then they'll have to negotiate that 8 times. And we can see now our leader just making his way to the ramp.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen, there he comes, Maciej Bruziak.
So Bruziak is out of the water first once again. The athlete racing from Poland. You can see they get a shower off some of the salty water as they make their way now down the blue carpet, heading all the way to transition. And it's a scramble here out of the water as multiple athletes hit the pontoon together. So Bruziak is in there first. Crociani, one of the pre-race favourites, comes out comfortably in second. The helmets are on, and that was a speedy transition by the Polish athlete. Max Stapley is there then. Helmet needs to go on quick. He needs to be with this group if he's going to be in contention. Struggling a little bit there with a strap on his helmet. Can see Jack Willis now just on the left-hand side putting his helmet on. And these are really the probably most important stages of triathlon. The swim obviously being one, but these early kilometres on the bike is where the athletes really have to go all out deep into the red zone to try and get that advantage over the chasers that perhaps have lost a little bit of time in the swim. Still a few bites in the transition area, so we are still awaiting some swimmers, as it looks to be the Polish athlete that absolutely hammers it out of transition and up this first stretch of road.
And now comes our second group of athletes, ladies and gentlemen. It's certainly going to be quite difficult.
So Bruziak from Poland around that transition quickly there, and he's doing exactly what he should be doing on a course like this, with 65 athletes trying to chase him down. And we can see the back markers from the water now just coming out. There are still a handful of bikes in transition. Glasses go on, and the athletes are going to have to give absolutely everything they got if they're going to get back into this. As a Polish athlete absolutely hammers it around that bend, and the road now starts to go gradually uphill, which is really tough for these athletes because they've been maxed out in the swim, in the transition area. The heart rate is high, and now it continues to rise as they make their way up the start of this climb. It's a gradual climb to begin with, and then it begins to pinch at the top before they go left, and a fast descent back towards transition. You can see, looks to me like possibly by the blue colours, 3 Italian athletes there. We know Crociani had a great swim. He was certainly out in front with the Polish athletes. And then there's Angelini, Asano as well. So let's keep our eyes out. Di Nigro, but I think he was a little bit further down in the swim. And they really have cranked up the pace here on the streets of Istanbul. So unfortunately, the graphics, timing graphics, depending on how your eyes are, not that clear. So I will take a look at my timings and give you some more accurate references as to where our top 10 athletes are right now. And that's Stapley just in the picture there. Good to see. Stapley really having the best year of his life, an all-time best, 7th in Hamburg at the World Triathlon Championship Series event there. And got a World Cup victory in Chengdu in China last year. Took a silver eSport London World Championship medal 2024. So this group now all coming back together. They work really hard, the Polish athlete, but you probably need 6, 7, 8 athletes out in front from the get-go if you're going to get a really good chance of a breakaway. Harry Lalou there, Lund is there, both having had great swims. So good news for the British team so far. And you can begin to see now as one of the athletes appears to have dropped a chain. Was it an Italian athlete? And that would be devastating, because very hard when you've got a group like this. They're highly motivated to stay away for the chasers. Even if you lose 10 seconds, it is virtually impossible to get back on as the athletes now hammer down this underpath. And just a few seconds and they will be back in daylight again. So our leaders, a big group, as we saw in the women's race yesterday. We had 26 athletes out in front. I think it's fewer now, which really does lend itself to this style of course and managing to establish a really good breakaway. So we can see one of the athletes behind, and it's another group that makes contact with the leaders now. And I sense that this is potentially going to come down to a really, really big group of athletes in this lead pack. So out in front, we have Cruciani, Giovanni and Zano. I think possibly the Italian athlete was the casualty of a small mishap at the early stages of this race. And is it him at the back of this pack fighting to get on? The pace is relentless. I love to see this style of racing in triathlon. I really do. When the pace is on, they're keeping it honest. They're keeping it interesting for the viewers. And they are all fighting it out here for their positions. I think that we might see more attempts of breakaway as this big group of leaders comes together now on the streets of Istanbul. It really was a fantastic start with a brilliant swim in the beautiful waters here at the Kuksu Pier. And athletes now just coming back together again as they wind their way down this fast descent, I am told by some of the athletes. We don't necessarily get to see it all that clearly. Not always easy for our cameramen on their bikes to follow the athletes at the pace that they're going. So going back to our timings, this is the first lap now coming to a swift end. The athletes now back in the town area. They will complete their first lap. They'll have 7 laps to go. It's just over 40 kilometers, this bike course, 8 laps of 5K. I always think that's quite hard when your head's down and you're working really hard to remember to count the laps. Thankfully, though, they do have a bell on the end of the penultimate lap, which will signal 1 lap to go. But at the moment, still 7 laps to go at this 2025 Europe Triathlon Championships in Istanbul. So a big group now out in front, and perhaps not what some of the athletes thought would happen or what they really want. These are some of the athletes further back down the field. One of the Turkish athletes coming through, the Turkish have brought a big team here to race with high hopes of winning a medal. As yet, the Turkish have not taken a medal at the European Championships. And oh my goodness, how they would love to have one. If we look at the men's medals table in European Championship racing, Great Britain out in top with 11 gold medals, 4 silvers and 3 bronze, totaling 18. France have the same number, but fewer gold medals. Spain as well have featured well. If we think back to the times of the brilliant Javier Gomez and Mario Mola, they would have helped accumulate those medals. And Netherlands and Belgium have also done very well at these European Championships. So the first championships held in 1985 in Germany was won by the great Rob Barrel, who proceeded to win the next 4 championships. An immense performance, an immense athlete that he was. So these now are our back markers in this race. Always tough when you've lost so much time in the swim. We did see a couple of athletes being lapped in the women's race yesterday. So at the moment, 63 athletes are out of the swim. We started with 63. We still have 63, which is good news, but they are all pretty close together looking after that first lap on the bike. We have a pretty big group of athletes. So clock ticking now, heading towards the 30-minute mark. So very similar, touch of deja vu today. The women's race was the same, 26 athletes in this lead pack. And I can give you a few name checks. Great to see Max Duda, I was talking about earlier, a really immense athlete, but unfortunately struggles on the swim. But he's made this lead pack now. We can just see him on the right-hand side to the Belgium athlete. So great news for Switzerland that Max Duda has made this lead pack, because when he gets out onto the run, he really does come into his own. So the athletes now, they round this bend and then they just start to make their way up the climb. And it's not that it's that steep or that long, but it's the fact that the athletes have to do it 8 times in total. This is the second lap. They'll have 6 laps to go after this lap. And they quickly now make their way down the descent. Max Stapley is in this group here. We can see there just on the side of our screen. Giovanni is in there as well, which is good to see. It's going to be a great battle as the clock ticks on. Be interesting to see if there are any attempts of a breakaway. I think it's tough on this course to get a really significant break. Perhaps the only opportunity is when they get back down towards the town, towards where the transition area is, and it gets a little bit tight and technical, but it's a little bit early perhaps for a breakaway. But for a breakaway to be successful on this course, you really need around about 8 athletes. But at the moment, our leaders, 26 out in front, staying away from the chasing group, who now are sitting around about 30 seconds away. So I can definitely confirm we have got 26 athletes in this lead group. And Gurgly Kiss is in there. I mentioned him earlier on, got a bronze medal in the Under-23 World Championships in Torremolinos, the 22-year-old from Hungary. He has made this lead group, as has Eric Denner as well. He's in there. Harry Lelou is in there. Jimmy Lund is in there. and Nicola Azzano from Italy. The Italians looking really strong in this championships at the moment. Devey is in there from Hungary, and the Greek athlete as well. Great to see him up there. And that is Bitados from Greece, 22 years of age. He's mixed it up a bit this year, the athlete from Greece, 22-year-old. He got a 9th place in the T100 Triathlon World Tour in Vancouver and has won 2 African Triathlon Cup wins as well. But he's mixed and matched with the longer distance racing and the shorter distance racing as our athletes now come through for the second time. So 2 laps down now, and we are 26 athletes in this lead group. So clock is ticking, 32 minutes. A 1,500-meter swim is done and dusted. 2 laps of this 8-lap bike course is also done. And the athletes now swing round that bend. It's a punchy course, this one. It really is. Flat, wide, open sections on the road here, but they'll make their way up for the 3rd time, up that climb, gradual to start with, and then they hit the incline and it gets really punchy up there. And we can see the pace is seriously on. This is our chase pack now. They are not too far behind, but they are losing a few seconds every lap. So around about 45 seconds down now on the leaders. So a couple of Spaniards in that group. Spaniards have brought a big team here. We know that Antonio Serrazione, who came here with really high hopes, he took a bronze medal in the World Duathlon Championships in Pontevedra a few weeks ago, back in June. But he had a brilliant 2nd place finish in Bermuda in the World Triathlon Championship Series in 2022. And I think it was that point that everyone thought, here we go, we've got another Spaniard on the blocks. But unfortunately, he has not been able to repeat that kind of performance over the standard distance and finds himself in the 2nd group, around about a minute down now. So we can see there on the timing graphic, Pitados from Greece headed that lead group around the 2nd lap. And then we have a cutoff point now to the chasers, which I will give you some time references shortly now. So at the end of lap 2, we had our 26 leaders out in front, and then there was over a minute back. So 1 minute and 8 seconds now, the chasers are behind our leaders. So perfect conditions as they head towards 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Istanbul. Women's Europe Triathlon Championship took place yesterday. And so for those of you that were tuning in a little bit later, it was won by Belgium's Jolien Vermeulen, and Diana Isakova was the silver medalist, with Tilly Anima from Great Britain taking that brilliant bronze medal. Perhaps maybe a little bit unexpected looking at the joy as she crossed the line, but she is an athlete that is going strength to strength and has so much potential. Led the water out of the water really convincingly, a good 10 seconds over the 2nd place swimmer. But this is the men's championship race, and once again they make their way up this climb. Devey is in there from Hungary. Haven't seen any sighting yet of his teammate, Bence Bicak, another very talented athlete, but does really kind of go up and down in terms of his results, but has a great run leg. Unfortunately, not made it into this lead group though, but Devey is here. And Dobby also from Hungary racing here today. Hungary have brought a strong team. Benche Bicak is there. Gurgly Kiss is in the lead group. So these are some chasers now. And the pace has been relentless throughout so far. Lots on this weekend for the Triathlon World Triathlon Championship series event taking place in France, as was the T100 yesterday. So Songa Lehmann, who is the current European champion, not racing here today. The top three last year were Songa Lehmann, Janis Seguin and Kasper Stornes from Norway. We will have a very different podium here today as we don't have our medalists from last year. In the Europe Triathlon Cup in Istanbul last year, Maxime Moosbrugger won. He's not racing here today, but Gurgly Kiss, who took the silver, is, as is Harry Lelou as well. And great to see that at the moment we have 3 British athletes in this lead group. We have Stapley in there, we have Jimmy Lund in there, and we have Harry Lelou as well. So has the pace slowed? The athletes now spread out down the road, but it gets narrow here. As you can see, the cones are placed in the road, so hard for them to use all of the road. But looking at the athletes now, strung out at the front, single file, keeping the pace quick. They want to stay away from the chasers. At the moment, they're doing a really good job. At the last count, the chasers were 1 minute and 8 seconds down. And that's really, really hard to pull back when you have a motivated pack like this one. And is that, once again, the early swim leader, the Polish athlete, out in front, Bruziak. And then a big chain of athletes now as they head towards the end of lap 3. So 25 kilometers to go. 5 more laps. Always interesting to look back over the years and see some of the heroes of triathlon that have won this prestigious title. Songa Lehmann won from Hungary in 2024, David Castro from Spain in 23, and the Paris bronze medalist Leo Berger in 22, Dorian Connix in 21, and then the double gold medalist Alistair Brownlee in 2019. And also looking back to previous years, we mentioned Rob Burrell from Holland, who took 4 titles. And in 1991, the great Simon Lessing from Great Britain took 4 titles as he won in 1991. And then again in 2, 3 and 4. But here we are in 2025. These are our chasers now, around about 1 minute and 20 seconds down. And at the moment, they don't seem like they're working together as a group, and that's what you need to do. But it's really tough when you have a group that's not big or small to really be able to communicate with the other riders, really keep the pace on. And even if you don't pull back time, don't lose any more time, because this pack out in front, these are our chasers, but our pack out in front is fast. It really does, for me, hold all the pre-race podium favourites, with Max Stapley in there, Gurgly Kiss from Hungary, Alicia Crociani. I think those athletes are going to be tough to beat when it comes down to this 10K run, which is an interesting run made up of 3 different laps, and they cover gravel and grass and some road. And it's not going to be a quick run course, I don't think, because of the terrain, which slightly slows down the pace, but it is flat. They'll be grateful of that after this hilly bike course. The gap between our leaders has pretty much stayed the same. So it is around about 1 minute and 15 seconds. So the chasers are working well, but they're not pulling back any time. They have the Swiss athlete to help them out in there. Sylvain Friedelance, such a strong, talented athlete, great biker, 30 years of age. So it'll be the lights of the Swiss athlete that are really just trying to hold this gap as it is, praying that it doesn't grow any bigger at 1 minute and 15 seconds. At the end of this lap, our leaders will be going out onto the last 4 laps of this 8-lap bike course. Once again, they make the turn and start to climb once again. Debate from Hungary leads the way. Studer is up there in 3rd place, but this lead group will, the times will look slightly different because they're very strung out as they come past the timing checkpoint at the end of each lap. So there may be around about 10 seconds difference from the first to the last rider, but there are still 26 athletes in this lead group. And at the moment, all looking strong. Doesn't seem to be anyone that is dropping off at all, but they are having to work incredibly hard. I mean, look at this, 26 athletes literally strung out in single file down the road. British athlete there came through in 14th, Jimmy Lund. Gurgly Kiss is up there as well. Dupis is up there from France. Got a 2nd place finish at the Hungarian World Cup. So keep your eye out for Dupis from France, 30 years of age this year, as one of the Spaniards, I think, decides to call it a day. But these at the moment are back markers in the race. And if you were a group of 3 and are now a group of 2, that is going to make this task even tougher. Yeah, it looks to be like one of the Spanish. I'm trying to pick out the name there, and I think it's Castro, but we will confirm that. So disappointing day for the Spaniards as one of their team members pull out, and I can confirm it is David Castro Fajardo from Spain, 32 years of age. Such a shame. Started the season so strongly, the Spanish athlete, with a victory in New Zealand at the Napier World Cup, but then he just lost his form. And you really never know what an athlete has been up to in terms of their health and injuries. And is this attempt of a breakaway now, or is that a lapped athlete? And I've got a feeling it's potentially a little bit of attempt of a breakaway here in Istanbul at the Europe Triathlon Championships. So here we go. The end of lap 4. The athletes halfway through this 40-kilometer bike ride now. 4 laps to go, 20 kilometers left. Are they going to keep this pace up? And the lead rider signals there for rider number 2 to come through. So Sombor Deve from Hungary has attempted a little bit of breakaway, came through lap 4 there, 8 seconds up on the chasers, but will he be able to stay away? I sense the pace now is a little bit frantic as they perhaps sense a bit of urgency. You cannot allow an athlete to go on down the road and just presume you will pull him back at some stage. So DeVay had a strong start to this race in the swim. His latest result is a 10th place in Samarkand World Cup a little bit earlier on this year. Young athlete, 23 years of age. So this is our lead chase group here, and we'll get a time reference to see if they've lost or gained on our leaders. So the chasers are doing an absolutely brilliant job at the moment. The time reference I've got is 1:07. So it was up to 1 minute and 15 seconds. So they seem to have cut another 8 seconds off that lead that our lead pack have. So they've got to keep the pace on. There's still 20 kilometers to go. And if you have a small group of athletes that are motivated, that sense they are pulling some time back, then things can change out here on the road. It's absolutely brilliant to see this championship race, Men's Europe Triathlon Championship race, really being kept honest. The athletes working really hard on this course. I sense that the pace is on. When you look at the athletes strung out down the road, you know that no one is having an easy ride. I look over to where the swim took place just over half an hour ago, and love that beautiful Anatolian castle, an old fortress on the Asian side of Bosphorus. So the women's overall time yesterday, set by Jolien Vermeulen from Belgium, was 1:55.35. They had a little bit of a tougher swim, but expect the men to be around about 1:45. So they have just over, perhaps a little bit less now, an hour of racing to go. And the athletes quite tightly bunched now down this road, but you can see how hard some of these athletes are working out of the saddle, punching up this hill. So looking at this lead group, I'll have to correct myself. I hadn't noticed the Hungarian in there, Bence Picak. Great to see him in there because he's got a really fantastic run. He really has. He's had multiple top 10 World Cup finishes, finished 16th at the Paris Olympic Games, and he got a 5th place finish in the World Cup in Tissy in Hungary a few weeks ago. So great to see a lot of our top runners are in this lead pack, which means we are set for an absolutely fascinating 10K coming up. Athletes in this lead pack, Max Stapley really has lifted his game massively over the last 12 months. Alessio Cocciani, who won the European Sprint Championship title, he really has got his bit between the teeth at the moment. And then you throw into the mix Asano from Italy, Bichak, Harry Lalou as well, who we know enjoys racing in Turkey, took a 3rd place finish at the Europe Cup last year. He's in there. Jack Willis is in there too. And he's an athlete that is capable of so much. He's had multiple top 5 finishes in Europe and World Cup races, and had an all-time best on World Triathlon Championship Series last year in Weihai when he finished inside the top 10. And a few athletes there have just dropped off the back. And I sense that they are, they're not lapped athletes. They have just passed some lapped athletes. And the rule is that if you are lapped on the bike unfortunately, that is it. You are out of the race. I think it's more for safety reasons than anything. But I can see a couple of athletes there that our lead group have gone past who will no longer be able to continue in this Europe Triathlon Championship race. So the athletes now just pacing themselves, taking a little bit of caution as they navigate this little right tight hand bend here and make their way back through and down and to the end of the fifth lap. They will have 3 laps remaining after this lap. So once again, in single file, a little bit of a nudge out the way there. And I know that this section of road is tight here when they come back over the timing mat. So those are our leaders. Harry Lalou, Benche Bichat in 26th place. I was just mentioning him. So he rounds up this lead group, 26 athletes in there. Harry Lalou is there. Crociani is there. Gurgly Kiss is there. And I'm really enjoying this championship men's race here in Istanbul. Fast and furious, and the pace really hasn't let up since they went out onto the first lap of this course. So we've got 3 laps left to go. Glance over the shoulder there. Is everyone still present and correct? This is the chase group here. And actually, I sense that they certainly haven't lost any more time on that 5th lap. It was down to 1 minute and 7 seconds at the end of the 4th lap. We will get some timing references shortly. Coming up to 54 minutes on the clock. So the time that separates the leaders from the chase pack is exactly the same, 1 minute and 7 seconds, as it was at the end of the 4th lap. The great news for the chasers is that the time is at least staying the same. And you see races go one or two ways in these latter stages. And that is the leaders tend to sit up a little bit as they start to think about T2, transition 2, and the 10-kilometer run that is to follow. And that gives the chance of the chasers to pull some more time back. But that can also happen to the chasers, that they start to think about the run. But at the moment, the pace has definitely dropped a little bit as the athletes now just spread out across the road in a group here. And this is our 3rd chase group here coming through our pictures, just about to head out on to their 6th lap. So in this lead group, Kendall from Austria got 33rd position in the Paris Olympics and a silver medal way back in 2016 at the the ITU, as it was back then, Winter World Championships. So that's another athlete, the Austrian athlete, 33 years of age. Candy from Austria is also in this lead group. It's warm here, but temperatures around about 26, 27 degrees, which is fairly okay for these athletes that have gone through a pretty warm summer, pretty well adjusted now to the heat. Just having a little look there. Harry Lalou, Max Stapley is in there, Jack Willis as well. So for the British to have 4 athletes in this lead group of 26 athletes is a great day, but there's still a way to go. At the end of this lap, we'll have 2 laps to go plus a 2-kilometer run. A 10-kilometer run. They would like a 2-kilometer run. A 10-kilometer run. And it's made up of 2 laps of 3,450 meters and then a last lap, which is slightly shorter. So a different format to what the athletes are used to racing, as one of the Spanish athletes decides that he's going to stretch out his leg there, perhaps a little bit of cramp or something. So they, at the back there, the Hungarian athletes, so the Hungarians as well have a couple of athletes in this main group. Gurgly Kiss wearing number 1 is up there. So as I thought, the athletes, I think now, just starting to sense that this bike ride is coming to its conclusion. But that is where a lead group can lead a little bit of time on the chasers, because at the end of this lap, they will still have 10 kilometers to go. The time between the leaders and the chasers was down from 1 minute 15 to 1 minute and 7 seconds at the end of the 5th lap. Cruising down this downhill section now, just trying to get the heart rate down a little bit. Some athletes thinking about taking on some water, perhaps even an energy gel. So in the chasing group, 2 Spaniards, Grau is there and Serrazione, which are both really strong runners, but they're going to have their work cut out if they're going to put themselves in a medal position. 26 very motivated athletes in the front now. With 1 minute gap, you do have an opportunity, if you've brought your running legs to the party, to pull back some positions over perhaps some of the not so quick runners in this lead pack. But this really is an outstanding lead pack here at these championship race in Istanbul. So we are at the end of lap 6 now, and this big group of 26 athletes has not changed from the first lap of this bike course. So our Polish athlete there, who led out the swim, leads this bike leg at the moment. At the end of lap 6, just 10 kilometers to go. And I sense that these laps now are going to fly by. They really are. This is our chaser group, or our lead chase pack here, coming down and onto the blue carpet, where we will get the time and reference now. There's a Turkish athlete in there. There's a couple of Spaniards in there as well. And I mentioned the cyclist Sylvain Friedelance, great biker, but he's choosing to sit on the back of this chase pack at the moment. So if you are just tuning in, some people perhaps didn't catch the start of this 2025 Europe Triathlon Championships here in Istanbul. The Polish athlete Brisiak led the swim out and then managed to form a group of 26 athletes. It stayed the same since then. They are now on to lap 7, the penultimate lap. When they come round this time, they will hear the bell and know that they have 1 lap to go. We have several little packs back down the road, but the chasers just over a minute behind. And this lead group now has picked up the pace once again. They're single file down the road, sensing that they've got to keep working hard to stay away from the chasers. And all sorts of racing has taken place over the course of the weekend here in Kukuksu Pier, and it's located on the Beige Kos area of Istanbul. Beautiful, stunning area. We've had age group races. We've also had the Asian Championships race. So the women went this morning. Yuko Takahashi, the very experienced, that's her second title now. She took the gold medal. And yesterday it was Hojo Takumi from Japan. So 2 Japanese gold medalists in the Asian Championships, which have taken place over the course of this weekend. Friday was a big day for the age group athletes. Yesterday, we had the Women's Championships won by Jolene Vermelin. And today, the grand finale of this brilliant Europe Triathlon Championship weekend of racing. And we are on to the penultimate lap of the men's race. The pace has dropped once again as this big 26 group of our leaders just starts to negotiate this climb. I think they will be pretty happy to ride up it for the 8th and final time. Tired legs now, but they don't have time to think about that. They will have to start thinking ahead to T2 and that final kilometre run, which is going to be challenging. It's raced over some road, some gravel and some grass. As we look down now to the area of Kukuksu Pier, located on the Bosphorus area of Istanbul. Stunning views there across the water. So here we go now. This is one of our chase groups. So this is starting to look interesting now. This is our lead group. There's Jimmy Lund there from Great Britain, just taking on some water. But the timings have changed quite a bit. And we can see now this lead group of 26 athletes finds itself just 42 seconds ahead of the chasers, which doesn't totally surprise me. For the last couple of laps, this big group of 26 athletes has just appeared a little bit disconnected. They were so motivated over those first 5-6 bike laps, but concentration perhaps has lapsed slightly as many athletes trying to get the heart rate down very hard at this stage when there's 1 hour and 55 minutes on the clock. And the chase group have kept the pace on, which has meant they have pulled back 20 seconds over the leaders in this final stage of the 40-kilometre bike ride. Athletes now getting the water on. They'll be starting to think about the energy they need to tackle the 10K run. Women's time yesterday, set by Jolene Vermelin. The quickest time of the day was 34:44, a really decent time, but would normally see her go around about a minute quicker. And I think that is due to the fact that the course is pretty technical and run over different terrains, and that definitely does slow the pace. So the athletes now heading out onto the final lap of this 40-kilometer bike ride, and they will be relieved to see the back of this tough course. And it's a great course because it really keeps the athletes honest. There is no place where you have any let up at all. And once again, perhaps sensing that the clock is ticking and if they're going to stay away from the chasers, get any opportunity to make sure that the chasers don't cut back another 15 seconds, because then it puts some athletes from that chase group right back in contention if you get to T2 with just a 30-second disadvantage, because in that lead group we have some really strong runners. The likes of Antonio Serrazio from Spain is in there, Grau is in there as well, as is Friedelance from Switzerland. Well, another young athlete that is in that chase group, João Batista, the national champion from Portugal. Great runner. And he certainly has the running legs to pull back quite a bit of time on some of the runners in the lead pack. But it's a really strong lead pack. I'm really excited to see how Max Studer goes. Has a 13-minute 24-second 5,000 meter personal best time. Finished 9th in the Tokyo Olympic Games. Perhaps hasn't had his best form of late, but he will be delighted to be in this lead pack. So we are just looking now at our 26 athletes. They've probably got to know one another pretty well, although some athletes will have spent a lot more time up at the front than the others. And just having a look, Harry Lelou going through the picture there. Jimmy Lund is up there, Jack Willis from Spain. Norwegian athlete in there. What a history they have. The great Christian Blumenfeld, who won the gold medal in the Tokyo Games. So Eric Berling from Norway in this lead group turns 20 this year. So a lot of young athletes racing this European Championships, which is so good to see. They will gain so much experience from being able to race a championship race of this caliber and mixing it up with some of the best in the world. So 1 hour and 10 minutes on the clock. They are heading now towards the top end of this final lap here in Istanbul. They have raced really hard, 2 laps of 750 meters in the warm and choppy waters here in Istanbul. And this tough bike course. And whilst it's not too steep, it's pretty relentless. There really is absolutely no let up as they ride the technical sections further down towards the transition area. And then it's a gradual climb before a fast descent. We can see now the athletes heading down towards the racing, the triathlon zone. So at the moment, my timings are telling me that the chasers are now within sight almost of our leaders. The time difference being only around 30 seconds, not even that. So incredible work from our chasers who've worked brilliantly to pull time back. It went up to 1 minute 15 seconds at one point in the race and now has been reduced as they come towards the end of this 40-kilometer bike ride to under 30 seconds. We have many, if not all, the main contenders from the start of the race in this lead pack. Max Stapley is up there, Kiss is up there, Crociani is up there. This is set to be an absolutely brilliant 10K foot race now as the athletes head to the third leg and the end of their bike here in Istanbul. And this is the tough part of racing. It really is. As the athletes now dismount their bikes at speed, you have to get this right. It has to be executed with military precision. Any mistakes, and that can take you out of the race. The first athlete through is an Italian athlete. The Italians have been incredibly strong here as Stapley from Great Britain racks his bike. And some of the athletes, Max Studer on the right-hand side, sprinting out of transition. Does he sense that this is his day here in Istanbul? Bit of a slower transition there from some of the athletes. And you can see it's Benche Bicak from Hungary going out now. The difference, they've all come into transition together, but somehow within moments, there are 15, 20 seconds from the front runners and the back runners. And look at Max Studer absolutely flying down the road. Well, his teammate from many, many years, Nicola Spirit, the great champion from the London Olympic Games. She then went on to win a silver medal in Rio. Nicola Spirit having won the event, the European Championship title from Switzerland in 2009, 2010, 2014, 2015. What an incredible athlete she was. Max Studer now striding down the road. The cadence is fast. The stride is long. And this is a brilliant start to the 10K run for Max Studer from Switzerland. 29 years of age, and look at the gap already. He has a PB of 28 minutes and 26 seconds on the road for 10 kilometers. But at the moment, he is absolutely flying. And I don't want to say it yet because you don't want to commit the curse of the commentator, but Max Studer, 29 years of age from Switzerland, is absolutely flying down the road now and has a gap of well over 50 meters over the chasers. And he is desperate for this result. He deserves this result. He's an athlete who has trained so hard over the years, but has always or very often come up wanting, because the swim has been weaker than it should be. But today he managed to get into that lead group. Dobby there from Hungary, just coming into transition now. It will be a slightly lonely 10K run for him. There are 3 laps here in Istanbul. Not what we'd normally see, but it is a great and challenging run course. And Max Studer, having been used to run over the countryside in Switzerland, will embrace and love the conditions here. Slight climb, but most of this run is flat as another little group of athletes makes its way into T2. So this is our transition area, and the athletes are all wrapped now. Max Studer is out in front. He has absolutely decimated the field here. He really has. No one has been able to go with the pace of Max Studer. The athlete trained by Brett Sutton. He won the 70.3 in Chongming in China earlier this year. Has been based near Shanghai for quite some time, a great place to train, but very hot and humid, which would have prepared him well for this race here in Istanbul. A little bit cooler here, though, around about 26 degrees as we head towards 6 o'clock in the afternoon local time. So that's a view there of where the finish line is. That is where the age group racing took place over the course of this weekend. And it has been a really brilliant weekend of racing for the Asian Championships, the European Championships, and the age group Europe Triathlon Championships as well. So this is our men's final. This is the final 10K. Max Studer from Switzerland is absolutely stomping his way around this bike course. I say stomping, I should say flying, because he looks like he is literally flying off the ground here, and an athlete with so much running pedigree. And I really feel like it was his time here in Istanbul. He has worked so hard for so many years to get this sort of result. Back in Tokyo, he had a wonderful 9th position in the Olympic Games, but it has been tough for him at times. It really has, with a weaker swim leg. But here at this European Championship in Istanbul, he is showing the triathlon world what he is truly made of. And look back down the road, and there really is absolutely no one. So our athletes now just coming through at the end of the first lap. So Max Studer is in the lead here and has a massive gap, 34 seconds, a third of the way round this 10K run. Ian Pennycamp is in second place. He's closely followed by the Greek athlete Patados, who is running really, really well. And then Alessio Crociani, one of the pre-race medal hopes, back in fourth. And now 36 seconds down on our leader, Max Studer from Switzerland. Jack Willis is running strong. He is also in that chase group of 3, 4, 5 athletes that are sitting around about 36 seconds down on Max Studer. Max Studer with a personal best on the track over 5,000 meters of 13:24. And when we think that Alex G, the great British athlete, took the gold medal in Paris, recently ran a 13:13 for a PB. And Max Studer just 11 seconds behind that. That really does demonstrate the 29-year-old Swiss athlete's running pedigree. Kiss coming through from Hungary, and some very tired athletes. And this has been a truly demanding course here in Istanbul. It has given these athletes absolutely everything, from the water conditions with the current, the 2 laps in the chop. As we come back to Max Studer now, just a little bit of an incline, but he'll embrace this. And you can see now the Polish athlete who raced so well, who did so much of the work on the bike, who led the swim out, but he is looking pretty fatigued on this 10-kilometer run and finds himself a little bit further down the field than he would like. But an athlete who is showing no signs of fatigue at the moment is Max Studer. The arms are relaxed, but working well to keep the rhythm. The stride is long, the cadence is high. This is some of the most beautiful running that I have seen in triathlon. And Vitados from Greece, also up in the top three, knows Max Studer well. He's done some training with him. Studer also won the Shanghai half marathon in a time of 1 hour and 2 minutes. And if you've been to Shanghai, you know how hot and humid it is. So that is a pretty tremendous half marathon time. So Vitados, who has mixed up the distances this year, going long on short, which is exactly what Studer has done. And that's an approach that Brett Sutton's training camp has to race the half distances as well as the standard distances. And for so many of his athletes, it really does pay off. We know that Julie Derren took the silver medal, and Max Studer's teammate in Paris last year. These athletes are not afraid to take on the longer distances, and all that it does is adds to the endurance tank. And that is what we are seeing right now from Max Studer, showing absolutely no signs of fatigue as the years of training and taking part in the longer races, half marathons and 70.3 races is paying off. And barring disaster, Max Studer is running his way towards a Europe Triathlon Championship title. Studer now striding out, starting to see a little bit of sweat on the forehead. The eyes are covering the glass. The The glasses are covering the eyes. You can't see the pain, but the body at the moment looks like he's on a track running a 1,500-meter race. Did he imagine this morning when he woke up that he would find himself in this position, in the gold medal position here at the Europe Triathlon Championships in Istanbul, 40 seconds ahead of silver medal position? And what a great day it is for the 29-year-old athlete from Switzerland, trained by the great Brett Sutton, who has in his camp of athletes Julie Deron, and the Greek athlete who is currently sitting in the silver medal position, Bitados, just 22 years of age. And we can see now the bike coming through our pictures, and that is the lead bike, and that is signalling that Max Studer now is on the slightly shorter third lap of this 10-kilometer run. So just 3 kilometers to go. And this is going to be an absolutely magnificent run. I will really look forward to seeing the 10-kilometer time. This is not a quick course with the different surfaces, but with just over 3 kilometers to run, we can expect to see him do that in a time of around about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit under, depending on which part of the course he is in. He'll be able to move slightly quicker. At the moment, he's on the gravel. But the last lap for Max Studer, sitting in gold medal position, 40 seconds over silver place Bitados. And Bennekamp from the Netherlands as well, who fights it out for a podium position. Bence Bicak sitting in fourth, looking very strong, but about 12 seconds down on the podium medal positions. Well, looking over the history of Switzerland's medal haul at the European Championships, which has been held since 1985, 39 years. We lost a year in 2020. They have won a gold medal, 3 silvers and 4 bronzes. And it looks like Max Studer is going to add a gold medal to their tally of medals over the last 39 years. Is he starting to look ever so slightly fatigued? At the moment, he just needs to stay calm and relax. He has a huge advantage over the chasers. It is plus 40 seconds now as the arms work hard and help to keep the rhythm going. The cadence has slightly dropped, but this is a man that knows running. This is a man who knows how to pace himself. A 1:02 in the half marathon in Shanghai. A brilliant 13:24, 5,000 meters on the track. Max Studer is a triathlete, but at the moment very much looking like a runner, like a man possessed as he heads towards the final kilometers of this Europe Triathlon Championships. So Jacques Willis from Great Britain moves up to 5th. Harry Lelou from Great Britain moves up to 6th. Bennekamp is in 3rd. Bicak from Hungary in 4th. Bitados in 2nd. But they are a little bit down the road from the leader, Max Studer. Max Stapley has slightly dropped off the pace. He worked incredibly hard on the bike and the swim, and sadly for Max Stapley, though, has dropped down further down the field than he would like. He really came into this race with really high hopes and in such great form, but it has been a challenging course for some. And looking there at the top 16 athletes, another athlete that has definitely fallen off the radar is the Italian athlete who took the sprint title a few weeks ago. Crociani is nowhere to be seen. Down in 18th now. He just pops up on our graphic. So some of the big hitters from early on in this race have dropped off. The pace has been tough. The bike was absolutely relentless. But back with Max Studer from Switzerland, the leader at this Europe Triathlon Championship race now, is absolutely marching his way towards the finish line. He can't have more than 2 kilometers to go now, if a little bit less. He is absolutely flying down the road. And if ever there was an athlete that deserved a championship title, it is the quiet and really unassuming Swiss athlete Max Studer, who deserves this title today. He lost a bit of time on the swim, but worked hard in the early stages of the bike to pull back the chaser. And he absolutely flew out of transition and didn't give the other athletes an opportunity to even get a whiff of the lead. Such was the pace, the transition executed perfectly, and the pace set in the early kilometers, and the pace he continues to set. Perhaps looking a little bit fatigued, but I can't really see it. The cadence is still up, perhaps a little bit slower than it was 20 minutes ago, but he can be forgiven for that. He will know the gap he has between himself and the silver medal position. And right now, he just has to keep calm and really enjoy the final stages of this championship race here in Istanbul. Max Studer's teammate, Frida Lance, just coming through the pictures. A really strong swim biker, but unfortunately doesn't quite have the pace today on the run. Jimmy Lund from Great Britain, back in 23rd place. He had a brilliant swim and bike and is holding his own on the run, still within that lead group that came off the bike, around about 30 seconds ahead of the chasers. And I wonder what is going through Max Studer's mind right now. How focused is he on the gold medal, or is he just thinking about the next step in front of him? A massively deserved result for the 29-year-old from Switzerland, who spends a lot of his time out in China training with his coach, Brett Sutton. And the Polish athlete there, Brusiak, just coming through our pictures. And I think a lot of these athletes should be grateful for the work he put in as he led the swim out and then really pushed the bike in the early stages and really a lot of the way round of the 40-kilometer bike ride. But looks like his legs have given up the ghost today. Max Studer now making his way around that final top turn. And this is our finish line, and what a sight it is going to be for Max Studer. Absolutely delighted for this athlete who has worked and fought so hard for every result. Perhaps one of his best days was 9th place in Tokyo, but he has been close to the podium on many occasions, but never found himself this position, about to take a European title. And some of our athletes there just hanging to the right as they go out on their final lap. Bicsak now, Bicsak from Hungary, has moved himself up into the silver medal position. Delighted for the Hungarian athlete, who over the years has had some tremendous results, and but perhaps not the best results that he would have wanted. Harry Lelou is looking great in fourth. Pitardos there in bronze medal position. So Jack Willis holding his own in 6th. And Benny Camp, who was up in the medal positions for a lot of the first lap, dropped back down into 8th place now. Dupis from France is in 9th position. The positions changing all the time in the top 10. Sioni has ran himself up into 10th position. He'll be delighted with that after a really tough swim, but an absolutely tremendous bike leg. The chase pack were at one time 1 minute and 7 seconds down. In fact, 1 minute 15 seconds down. But by the time they came back to T2, that deficit had dropped to just 30 seconds. So great to see the Spanish athletes rounding up the top 10. So Benche Pichak now 43 seconds down on our leader. Pitados is another 4 seconds down. And Harry Lelou having an absolutely brilliant race. He is flying. Does he have anything left in his legs to pull back the Greek athlete and find himself on the podium here in Istanbul? At the moment, Harry Lelou is just 10 seconds off bronze medal position. At the moment, though, Max Duda, the cadence, the form still looks the same as it did well over 20 minutes ago when he headed out onto this final 10K run. And I don't think any of the athletes expected the assault of Max Duda when he leapt out of transition and took off, leaving the chasers way behind him. In the first kilometre, he'd already put in 15 seconds. And Max Duda now in the final stages of this championship race in the gold medal position. It is a wonderful day for Switzerland. It truly is. And Max Duda and his team, training camp, will be utterly delighted with this well-deserved gold medal. And now heading towards the final stages, it really is. Looking down the road, there's absolutely no athlete in sight. We do know Benche Pichak, though Benche Pichak has made his way through the field, is sitting in silver medal position, but 43 seconds down on Studa. And looking at the places there, and some of the athletes that work really hard. Giovanni from Italy back down in 17th now. Jimmy Lund is in 22nd place. I think we will see a lot more from the young British athlete in the years to come. Crociani, really, the wheels coming off, finds himself back in 26th position. But now the focus is on our Europe Triathlon Championship, and he has the time to slap the hands of the spectators and fans. And it is a wonderful sight. The 29-year-old from Switzerland, Max Duda, is our European champion in Istanbul. Benche Pichak, though, from Hungary, flying down the final stages of the run. And he will be utterly delighted with this result. Silver medal at the European Championships. And sometimes the athletes really do just need a result like this to regain their confidence. It is going to be Pitados that takes bronze medal, but Harry Lelou from Great Britain is finishing incredibly strongly, and he is just behind bronze medal in 4th position. A brilliant result for the young British athlete. And the athletes now coming through thick and fast, as we see now Jack Willis with a brilliant 5th place. And this is a new era for British triathlon as Alistair Brownlee now retires and some of the younger athletes start to move forward. Alex Yee, we know, is in great form, and these athletes have had that incredible experience of watching Alex Yee gain in confidence, win Olympic medals, and they are desperately trying to follow in his footsteps. Serrazioni, their brilliant 8th place finish for him. Benny Camp held on tight for a top 10 finish. Dupis from France finishing in 10. Kendall from Austria in 6th position, and Aretoret from France in 7th. These are our top 10 athletes here in Istanbul. It has been an utterly brilliant race and nail-biting at times, but Studa must be delighted with that performance. So our podium athletes today: Studa from Switzerland in gold, Pichak from Hungary in silver, and Pitados in the silver medal position. So perhaps an unexpected podium, but hugely deserved. These are 3 athletes that have worked so hard over the last few years. And there is absolutely nothing like being rewarded for your efforts by taking a European Championship title. So the time for Max Studer, it was an immense time on a course like this with a tough swim, a tough bike, a 10K run that had a slight incline, but surface that the athletes perhaps aren't so used to running on, gravel, grass, and road, finishing a time of 1 hour and 44 minutes and 17 seconds. The run time I am keen to see from Max Studer. He was absolutely majestic from start to finish. And other athletes coming across the line now. Batista from Portugal in 15th. Azzano from Italy in 14th. Cambrai from Luxembourg in 13th. Jimmy Lund held on tight for 23, the 23rd position. Kramp from Germany in 22nd. Devey from Hungary in 21st. Giovanni from Italy in 19th. But some very, very tired athletes now making their way over the finish line. Grau from Spain just across the line in 25th position. And the athlete now just coming over the finish line in 22nd position is our first Turkish athlete in a time of 1 hour and 48 minutes and 32 seconds. It's Frieda Lance from Switzerland in 27th position, comes across the line. I wonder if he knows already how Max Studer has fared. A gold medal now, European gold medal to his name. Denner from Germany just across the line in 28th position. Crociani, a disappointing day for the very talented Italian athlete, finishing in 29th position. Kiss from Hungary, who featured so much in the early stages, back in 30th. Pertl from Austria just across the line. And then an athlete really that did work incredibly hard on the swim and the bike, Brusiak. And I think a lot of athletes should be pretty grateful for what he did on the bike in the early stages, really. He worked immensely hard to get that group and make sure that it wasn't any bigger than 26 athletes, still a big group, the same as we saw in the women's race yesterday. But it has been an absolutely brilliant racing weekend here in Istanbul with the Asian Championships. And just to recap, if you are still tuning in and unaware, that Yoko Takahashi took the Asian Championships and Hojo Takumi took the men's Asian Championships. Jolene Vermelin won the women's race. And today, Max Studer from Switzerland takes a gold medal here at the Europe Triathlon Championships in Istanbul. And I think many out there, including athletes, will be immensely pleased for the Swiss athletes. So unassuming, so quiet and calm. And I think for the talent he has, occasionally has perhaps slightly underperformed, but today he truly showed the triathlon world what he is made of. And that's a nice way to cool off in hopefully a very cool paddling pool bath. So our final athletes now just making their way over the finish line. These athletes have all worked equally hard. Some have just gone a little bit quicker than others. Benjay Bicak really was a surprise for me, but I was absolutely delighted to see the Hungarian athlete who time and time again has shown his capabilities, but perhaps not always delivered, from Joel Filio's camp based in Girona, taking the silver medal. And Patados, who knows Max Studer well, taking the bronze medal. So our brilliant athletes continue to cross the finish line. Joby from Hungary in 45th position. Not an easy day for some, but for some it's a day to remember. Max Studer taking a European title in a pretty quick time on this course of 1 hour and 44 minutes and 70 seconds. The bike ever so slightly long, and the run as well, and a tough swim with current and chop to deal with. So an absolutely brilliant race for the Swiss athlete, and I think he can be delighted with his result, and extremely happy for Benjay Bicak in silver medal position from Hungary, Patados from Greece in bronze. And these athletes should at least pat themselves on the back. When you finish in 47th position and you keep on working hard and you keep on learning every step of the way of what you need to do to improve on your performance, but you're there, you're showing up for the races. And that is what we love to see in triathlon.
Smoke that gas. 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 Can't stop, I'm moving too fast, yeah, I'ma take a shot. Smoke that gas.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have one more athlete out on the course, one more athlete remaining. Let's bring him home, and afterwards we can proceed to the main stage for the medal presentations.
Can't stop, I'm moving too fast. Yeah, I'ma take a shot. Smoke that gas. Smoke that gas.
Ladies and gentlemen, there comes our last finisher of today. Let's bring him home. Put our hands together for our fantastic athlete. Welcome. Congratulations. This is Daniil Valens from Moldova. And now we should be heading over to the main stage for the medal presentations.
Looks a little bit like I can this. This is what you call a bad bitch. What? This is what you call a bad bitch.